Hey, soldiers. Okay, so FTX, they are demanding that these politicians go ahead and return these ill-gotten gains that they received as campaign donations from Sam Bankman-Fried. There's been enough time that has gone by. A lot of politicians have gone ahead and given the money back. We talked about Mitt Romney, Mike Lee. They gave money back, but there's some stragglers out there. There's some holdouts. One of them is Joe Biden. Joe Biden got $5 million from FTX. And thus far, there's been no word of whether or not his campaign has moved to give the money back. So, politicians, come on, do the right thing. Don't you want these people to be made whole? Right? Don't you want to back as far away from this scandal as possible? The bankrupt cryptocurrency exchange firm founded by our friend entrepreneur Sam Bankman-Fried is demanding refunds of donations made to politicians before its spectacular collapse last year. In confidential messages sent to numerous political figures and action groups, FTX, because remember, FTX is still a company. They are just mired right now in trying to get people, made whole, pay off these creditors to to some extent. So that's what they're involved in right now. And they have talked about possibly even starting up services again, which we did a report about. We kind of crazy if they did it under the same name because the FTX brand, I would argue, has been just destroyed. But they sent these letters out, these confidential messages to numerous political figures and action committees. FTX and its debtors are backing up their demand for the return of money donated by Bankman-Fried prior to the company's collapse. They're backing that up with the threat of legal action. A press release from FTX dated Sunday, that would have been February 5th, states that any politician or group that does not make a voluntary refund faces the prospect of a bankruptcy court lawsuit to recover the money, plus interest accrued since the start of any action. Now, no politician is going to want to be in a position where their name is in a headline associated with not giving money back to Sam Bankman-Fried, giving it back to FTX after getting it from Sam Bankman-Fried pretty much illegally, right? Because remember, part of his charges are also campaign finance violations. So could be that some of these politicians who are not as well heeled as Senator Mitt Romney, if you're a senator, that's a big deal. And I would argue that are there any senators that do not have personal wealths or personal net worths under $1 million? Probably not. Mitt Romney is a very wealthy man. But some podunk congressman from any town, USA, might not have the money, which would put him or her in a sticky position based on what FTX is saying that it's going to do, which is take legal action. The company first announced its intention in December to try to claw back hundreds of millions of dollars in political donations to celebrities, charities, and Republican and Democrat politicians. So both sides of the aisle, okay? But let's just be honest about it. Sam Bankman-Fried's politics and the politics of his family are more left-leaning. And that's fine. You can believe what you want, even if you're wrong. But I guess they calculated that in order to get what they wanted out of D.C., they had to be bipartisan in their contribution efforts, which, most businesses think like that because that's the reality of the situation. Bankman-Fried, who has pleaded not guilty to criminal charges that he defrauded investors in FTX, is in detention at his parents' home in California on a $250 million bail. Now, also remember, Sam Bankman-Fried, we did a report on this, he tried to go at money from FTX. And one of the commenters made a great distinction. He said this. He said, look, if the money was Sam Bankman-Fried's, then sure, he should have a right to it, which I agree with. But Sam Bankman-Fried went after money that is FTX's money. Okay, and FTX really doesn't have any money because any thin dime that they get is going to have to be turned over so that it can be allocated to creditors. All right. So Sam Bankman-Fried tried to go after FTX money, which is really weird considering this position the company is in and the position that he is in. I'd also like to say he's not in detention at his parents' home. Have you seen his parents' home? He's probably in the backyard trying to get some sun and swimming. The former billionaire who conducted what prosecutors say was one of the biggest frauds in American history was extradited from the Bahamas in December. Another commenter raised a good point, said they should have kept him down there in the Bahamas, in that jail. He would have pleaded guilty by now. Yeah, he would have. As well as political causes, Bankman-Fried and other members of FTX's leadership donated large sums to charities, endowing the FTX Foundation and FTX Future Fund to promote his interest. The FTX Foundation had given away $140 million, the organization reported in October. That's going to probably wipe them out. All right, the fact that they're not getting this money from, Sam Bankman-Fried anymore. And if FTX goes after them, they're probably going to have to file bankruptcy. They're a charity. They don't have that kind of money. Okay. So sucks to be them, pretty much. This guy hurt a lot of people. And, he rode around talking about effective altruism. But what he was doing to be altruistic was giving away ill-gotten gains. The U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, we did the report yesterday that mentioned Damian Williams. He said that Bankman-Fried and his colleagues siphoned off billions of dollars in customer funds from FTX to spend on luxury properties, other investments, political contributions, and to prop up a hedge fund also set up by Bankman-Fried. Of course, that's Alameda Research, where his girlfriend worked. Isn't that nice? He could give his girlfriend a multi-million-dollar position, have her be the CEO of a company. Presumably stung by the association with the failed company, many politicians, including several high-profile Democrats, have already either returned the money they received or set it aside to wait for further guidance. There's a biased article. They mentioned several high-profile Democrats, but Mitt Romney is the most high-profile guy that I know that's actually a politician serving who did give money back, him and Mike Lee. Beto O'Rourke. Freudian slip. Beto O'Rourke, a Democrat candidate. He was a former candidate, actually, for the U.S. Senate and gubernatorial races in Texas, sent back a check for $1 million from Bankman-Fried in November, 1 week before FTX imploded. And see, this is what I'm talking about when people say, oh, these politicians, they're going to rally around him. They're going to circle the wagons. They're going to get him out of this. No, they're not. Because when you have to stroke a $1 million check, do you really think that Sam Bankman-Fried you're thinking favorably of him as you write that check out to FTX? Of course not. Now, O'Rourke's campaign said at the time it was taken aback at the size of the unsolicited donation. Didn't stop him from accepting it though, right? But basically what they're saying is, hey, something kind of smelled funny here. We didn't ask for it, and it was a huge donation, which amounted to nothing because Beto O'Rourke did not win. The Democrat National Committee, and I am intentionally saying Democrat. I don't think there's anything democratic about that party. So the Democrat National Committee and the party's senatorial and congressional campaign committees have said that they will return donations. Experts say recovering payments to politicians and charities is likely to be one of the easier parts of the bankruptcy process for FTX. Under U.S. law, payments or transfers made within 90 days of bankruptcy are presumed to be preferential if they result in a creditor getting more than it would have been entitled to at the end of the bankruptcy process. And a clawback can attempt to recover the difference in payments. All right, so despite making numerous sizable charity donations of its own, FTX is warning those from whom it is seeking refunds that they may not give away any of the money. So they're saying, look, And this is a special message going out to the politicians, because a lot of politicians tried to get slick with it. They were saying, well, what we're going to do is we're going to take the money that Sam Bankman-Fried gave us and we're going to donate it to charity. And FTX is saying, no, you're not. Because, see, that's a little gamesmanship that the politicians engage in. They give the money. Okay, so let's say I received money from FTX under Sam Bankman-Fried. I got $1 million. So now this whole thing comes out and it's ill-gotten gains. So I'm going to stand up on my high horse and say, well, I'm going to give it to this charity. This charity turns out to be some type of organization that, has helped me in the past or favors me in some way. And if you probably wait about 6 months, you're going to see a large portion of that come back to me in the form of a campaign contribution. So that was the trick they tried initially, but they're not going to be doing that anymore. Recipients are cautioned that making a payment or donation to a third party, including a charity, in the amount of any payment received from an FTX contributor does not prevent the FTX debtors from seeking recovery from the recipient or any subsequent transferee. So they put them on notice. Okay, just give it back to FTX. And it's crazy because this company was once valued at $32 billion. As of last month, January, they recovered so far $5 billion. And that does not include seized assets in the Bahamas, like the real estate that his mother and father were trying to give back now. Okay, they didn't try to give it back, beforehand. They were living in the lap of luxury, but now all of a sudden, we're trying to give it back. Of course you are, because you're trying to stay out of prison. The full scale of losses associated with FTX has yet to be calculated. So take a look at that report we did about the parents, okay? This thing, it's a family affair, and Damian Williams is looking at all aspects of this. So there may come a day when the parents are charged and go off to prison. The father sure believes that may be a possibility, judging by the fact that he has hired an attorney. All right, guys, so look at some of our other reports on the channel. We do a lot of reporting that's not associated with anything Sam Bankman-Fried. Go ahead and subscribe, like, share the content, and I'll talk to you soon.